By the way, also, YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT have probably one of, if not my favorite, logo of Overwatch. It does say Akihabara ENCOUNT though, so I'm a little bit confused, but it looks fantastic.
The nine-tailed fox, a sort of classic mythical animal of Japan.
Much like AKTM.
Yeah, one. Kevin Everett
Already
Walker.
disappointed he's not on my Korean. What is going on?
Kevin Everett Walker, that is the wittiest thing you've ever said. I just want you to know
set it
that.
up so well for me. I'm just saying. You could not have set it up better.
By the way, we talked about potential Genji 6Ks. If AKTM lives up to that hype, this could be the Genji 6K.
Well, one way you can't disappoint is if you don't play McCree, then you also can't disappoint with the bad points on McCree.
Yeah, that's his plan. That's his all season long. You know, can't disappoint.
He's got all his bases covered right now.
Exactly.
But we're finally into game. It's going to be Sanctum instead of Shrine for once as well. YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT looking for their first dive as they head straight in.
Yeah, just piling in. THK just clipping damage on the back end, that it is Mason first casualty. And they just keep mounting the pressure, but losing AKTM means it just all has to be Maffin and Saint not quite going to be able to do the work as Olivier and THK still standing in the fight are able to clean up the back end of it. Point does just barely go the way of YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT though, despite coming off the worst in that fight, just because the members were in the right place.
As Xavier got pushed back quite a bit, often, you know, and not just because they pushed back, but they disengaged quite cleanly well, so they did get those kills in response. But you're right, they didn't get the points, and now Xavier's still got to find a way to kind of break through YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT, who do have control.
And it's 1-for-1, both the Winstons out of the picture. Now the Dragon Blade first one out. Oh, nice sleep, but the follow-up isn't quite there. Finally able to get it, but during that...
What?
No way! I thought he was dead. Dead like 9 health, still killed Dreamer. That's nuts. And even then, the time that Dreamer was waiting for someone to come and help kill AKTM was time YOSHIMOTO were using to kill the rest of Xavier.
And now 36% as well. Xavier didn't waste that much time in the response. They came back in quite quickly, made that second fight happen, but AKTM, Dragon Blade away. He didn't get killed before with the sleep dart, but now this time around, just kind of almost randomly just drops.
Yeah, just trying to get a little bit too much harass down. That's going to be the Nanovisor combo now out of Xavier as they try and put the pressure on the point. But with that, YOSHIMOTO try and lay some pressure on THK. Not quite going to work though. Tay, apparently the one who closed out both of those kills. AKTM though, immediately back in the fight and already to good effect.
A lot of ultimates on the Xavier side though, and currently still trying to get that point underway. With these kind of kills coming from THK on the side, uncontested, no one to kind of dive him now, no one to pressure him. This cap should be underway pretty soon. Yeah,
Mason's going to stall it out though with the Primal Rage. He is respecting the fact that they've got a number of ults up if he can stall it out, and they are approaching 80%. Now it's going to be the Transcendence out from Bet, but unfortunately they lose Saint in among that. Xavier do still have some of their own ultimates. Tay committing his Transcendence. They're just waiting for the Sound Barrier from Hayam and does not commit it. I think now they are willing to let it go over now that they've pushed it past the 90% mark. Happy to have got those ultimates out of Xavier as well as they lose the fight, let the point cap go over 98%. That's actually pretty perfect.
That's even better than 99, and YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT now waiting for a couple more ultimates maybe. AKTM pretty close to that Dragon Blade, had a pretty successful first Dragon Blade, so expect the second one to be pretty good as well. But Dreamer onto the Nano Boost, he did hit that previous leap dart on him, so maybe he can count it.
By the way, for those of you wondering when we say 98 is better than 99, it's because if you cap back when you were at 99, the other team automatically gets overtime. At 98, they do not. So if no one touches the point, it just ends. And this could be the one. No, not quite just yet. AKTM needs to get a bit more than that done. It is actually continuing the fight now. Oh, Tay. Did Tay get a 3K in that, or am I just seeing things?
Zenyatta kick to the face is always satisfying no matter what, and especially against a Dragon Blade and Genji. That's going to allow Xavier Esports to hold on to this cap with only a Sound Barrier being committed in the middle of all of that. Nearly 5 ultimates now coming into play. YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT did have to spend quite a bit to try and get in here, but not enough to cap the point over. Certainly not enough to win the fight.
And now they're kind of on the back foot. Xavier, not only do they have ultimate advantage, they've got it by a massive margin. YOSHIMOTO had their work cut out for them to draw these ultimates out and then also find an ultimate advantage, and they are going to start running short on time to do all that.
HK is in a pretty decent position as well. High ground enabled, line of sight is perfect as well.
Oh.
But not if Yoshimoto Encounter go the opposite.
Yeah, and also Queen dying without using the Primal Rage, not a great start for them. Self-destruct and Transcendence out, and they kind of have to give away the space for now, but a perfect pulse bomb into Olivier, drops that mech straight back out of the picture. No tanks left up for Xavier. This is the opportunity. They're on the point, but there was members on the point there to force that overtime out. Nice Primal Rage to force THK with his tac visor away from the point, but he does trade his life for it there, Mason, as Queen re-enters the fray, and indeed he is a killer Queen. Gunpowder, gelatine, data bite with a laser beam guaranteed to blow your mind anytime.
I hope that clap was audible because that's about the only one you'll get from me today. Only from today. You have to work for your next one tomorrow. Just like Yoshimoto Encounter, still working to get this point underway. 95% Xavier Esports, definitely in control. Ultimate's coming online as well.
Really a fitting opener as well, 99 to 99. So far the closest one we've had, and it's Olivier along with Mason to be the first. Well, it's not even fully Olivier, it was just his mech, but now Saint's mech is matched. Queen goes down, and it's just blow for blow so far. AKTM needs to show up now or never. Gets Tay. Coming up on a Dragon Blade, has the sound barrier. He is indeed alive, looking to get an angle around the other side. But as he moves there, they lose Hyaman and Mappin. Now he's got to come back and alone Genji. It is Genji Day, but will it be AKTM's day? No, it will not. He's in the pit, and that should be enough for Xavier to secure out the fight. 99 to 99 feels fitting indeed, but it's Xavier striking first blood in their debut.
Similar to kind of the play style that we've seen them coming from Trials as well. They like to play defensively. Soldier Tracer is definitely within their wheelhouse here. Just back up, give away a little bit of space. Let Yoshimoto Encounter dive you. Let any team that wants to play aggressive dive you and then punish them. This is definitely within the sort of play style that is derivative of what Xavier want to be able to do, and they're very successful at it. You notice a lot of times when AKTM want to dive in outside of that first Dragon Blade, he had been getting punished quite often.
We do also see every so often Yoshimoto, as they're gearing up for their next kind of maneuver, as it were, that's when Xavier are picking them apart, getting a few extra members here and there. We even saw that right at the end. As AKTM was moving around to get a better angle for Dragon Blade, Xavier realized he was gone from the team. They had a small numerical advantage for a moment, and they pounced on it. Let's see if they can continue that trend, or if Yoshimoto clean up. So they dive straight in onto THK. This is kind of Xavier kettled in this room, but now they're able to just kind of blast their way back out. Oh, Tay! He might just be able to recover from that, may just be off the edge.
And that's the thing, right? Who's stuck in a room with who right now? Because once again, you've got to look at Xavier, you've got to look at how they play this game. They want you to dive in, and you've got to be someone like, you know, someone like Mason who just goes a little bit too deep. McCree being played by THK, he's looking to punish. And right now, Xavier doing just that.
That is phenomenal. And the Coalescence coming in from Dreamer as well to help secure this fight. Very quick one out of him. And you saw a similar thing from Yoshimoto is what they tried to do on Sanctum, where they tried to take the fight in advance of the point and then cap it on their way back. But they were at a numerical disadvantage. This time, it does not work, and Xavier off to a big lead.
You're looking for Yoshimoto Encounter to make use of this Dragon Blade that AKTM has farmed up pretty quickly of one fight as well, but they can get shut down pretty quickly as soon as Suntake gets a hack down or the EMP comes into effect. Not even looking at the older ultimates of Xavier Esports right now, they could all stop Yoshimoto.
Deadeye available already. So many ults indeed available for Xavier. Nice flashbang saves THK's life, and they knock Mappin with that. AKTM, though, along with Mason, are just not getting enough work done for all those ultimates being committed, and it is Xavier with more at their disposal as we sort of move into the zenith of this fight. It looks like Xavier just able to kind of keep a hold of the point without too much difficulty.
Timing, very important here. You looked at the 80% the Suntake already had coming into this next fight. Got that 100% in pretty quick time. And oh my lord, it's AKTM on McCree. And I am genuinely concerned because this could be the return of the king or entirely something different. I could be very disappointed.
Yeah, it could be the incredible return of the Great White Dope. You really never know. And I suppose that's what's going to be answered here. Is AKTM as good as he has been touted in all this time? We haven't seen him already. Oh!
Not this life.
Yeah, or the one who gets him. But Mappin is doing the work on the other side of that anyway. So Yoshimoto still looking all right in this fight for now. Hyaman barely staying alive throughout all that. And it is Xavier getting pushed lower and lower. Dreamer now off to the side. Coalescence has run out. Olivier will not remech, nor will he get kills with the self-destruct. They are still jostling back and forth, but if they can close out on Queen here, there should be enough of an advantage for Yoshimoto Encounter to close out the fight in their favor, get the point cap, especially that Primal Rage being committed, hopefully will be enough for them.
You would think so right now, but Yoshimoto's just kind of still Well, both teams are rather just kind of still in this point. As this point finally does over 93%, you'll take it. AKTM goes down to his counterpart with the dead eyes so far. THK's been the cowboy in this I don't know, showdown.
Well, that's the thing. Yoshimoto, that fight took too long, and then, you know, wouldn't you know it, look at the time, it's high noon. And with that, Xavier just kind of getting back onto this point already without even ever really having been fully pushed off it. The fight still felt like it was going, and indeed is now still going. A sound barrier from Xavier. Coalescence on its way up as well. Not that they need it, by the way, because they're getting all the frags. Yoshimoto, despite getting that point, just lose presence on it almost straight away. Only 30% gain, and now 95 to Xavier.
This looks like an impossible attack now coming from Yoshimoto Account. The Transcendent's already committed, but who can get the kills here? It's all Xavier Esports on the point. Yoshimoto still waiting for reinforcements, and they're not going to come in time.
Yeah, Bep dying just after that Transcendence runs out. And now it's just the members of Yoshimoto Encounter, unfortunately trickling in, stalling for nobody but the next person to die. And it is Xavier. Style points out of Olivier, just throwing in the self-destruct, ensuring that no one's going to get any closer to the point. And it is Xavier Esports with the first win of the series.
Pretty good one at that. Actually pretty close all around, despite it being a 2-0 on Nepal. That first one went to the entire distance. This last one even had a decent amount of back and forth, but it just seemed like instead of Sanctum, where both teams had a very clear idea of how they wanted to play, this time around it was Xavier saying, this is what we're going to do. And then Yoshimoto and Encounter, unfortunately, being the ones still just looking for a response. It's AK team saying, gotta start with Genji, nope, not working. Gotta go to McCree, nope, not working. Gotta go to Soldier, and unfortunately that wasn't good enough either. So for Yoshimoto and Count, what is the identity of this team so far?
Yeah, and look, I don't want to say that AKTM has disappointed so far. I think that's too heavy-handed, but certainly he hasn't shown up in the way that maybe we were hoping or expecting. Look, there's still plenty of time, and we've always got to talk about that factor of, you know, hey, look, first game of the first series you're playing in the first season of Contenders, like all that kind of stuff, right? There is that notion of maybe being a slow starter, but certainly that was not the big impact that AKTM was hoping for.
At the same time, and you know, kind of at the risk of not wanting to make the whole team sound like one guy, definitely don't want to go there. We've talked a lot about AKTM so far. It's great. Look, he's finally back in the pro scene. Fantastic. But the rest of the team as well, still looking for a little bit more out of the other members. Well, Maffin looked like he wasn't quite finding, you know, very similar to AKTM. And I know we again, putting a lot of attention on him, but the other members similarly didn't quite have that success in there. Yeah,
and interesting that you bring up Maffin, actually, because he was having a significant amount of impact, at least as much as he could have. Some really well-landed pulse bombs in there. And it was just one of these things where, like, with just a little bit more kind of tightening of the screws, you could have really seen Maffin actually running circles around the entirety of Xavier Esports. That felt like quite a close one, all things considered. And you certainly see the potential of this team. I mean, you even saw it in going 99 to 99 on Sanctum. That's, you know, says that these teams are fairly evenly matched, despite it ultimately being a 2-0 in favor of Xavier Esports. And as the series sort of carries on here, I do want to give Yoshimoto Encounter the benefit of the doubt and say they are just a bit of a slow starter. They're just looking to tighten some of those screws now. And I'm expecting to see them hit back pretty hard here.
Exactly, and I'd like to also give them that benefit of the doubt. Again, we started this by saying before the break, we said, look, the slate is completely wiped clean. The past results of any previous teams, including Japanese teams, we're not going to hold Yoshimoto and Count accountable here because they're entirely a new team. Let's take a look now at the next map coming up. It's going to be Numbani as chosen by Yoshimoto and Count, the losing team of Nepal. And the thing that's quite exciting for me about Xavier Esports as a team is right now, they look like a team, at least in terms of playstyle and identity, which is quite important, a very similar team to what I remember Flash Wolves being. Maybe not similar in the sense of success just yet. We may see that success, but similar in terms of just pure identity. What is this team good at? How do they play? Where are they strong? Where are they weak? It's very Flash Wolves.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that sentiment. One thing I do kind of want to say to that, though, is we were even talking at the start of this series, in fact, before it, about it being kind of hard to pin exactly where Xavier may be, you know, compared to at least Mega being the sort of other major Thai representative. Certainly compared to the other two Thai teams, you would just off the cuff sort of pop Xavier a little bit above them. But based off that, based off how close that looked, I'm actually considering that maybe this team isn't as strong as maybe we were expecting, certainly you would be looking for a clean 4-0 if you were really to put them in that bracket.
Only if you consider that Yoshimoto, if the Yoshimoto Encounт is a very weak team, then that would be true. But also Yoshimoto Encounт could also be a very good team right now because against small sample size, very small sample size in this particular example after one map. So anything could really happen. I think after we see Xavier against other teams, Yoshimoto against other teams, that's when it's going to be, you know, revealed exactly the strengths of what we're looking at. But Xavier, regardless of their success or lack thereof moving forward, whether they win or they don't, I'm just a big fan of how they play the game, because a lot of what Flash Wolves did in previous seasons of Pacific professional gameplay is the level of patience they had, the level of just understanding and mastery of knowing how to disengage, knowing how to punish, and playing that range game and patience so well was just very exciting.
Yeah, not quite as clean as what the former Flash Wolves were able to do, but there is plenty more season to go. It is only their first showing, and now on Numbani we'll get to see their second showing, as they have, of course, opted into the defense first.
AKTM's fourth hero coming into this as well. Maffin staying onto the Tracer. Not too, I guess, rare. We definitely see the fire start for a lot of teams on Numbani, but I look for the breakthrough. Yeah,
there's the dive, but AKTM takes a huge chunk. He's having a bit of a hard time keeping on the pressure, and the dive hasn't quite turned up the kills just yet. In fact, it's Muffin and now Hayamin following him to the grave that are going to be the opening casualties, and now Xavier Esports can just kind of encircle the remainders of Yoshimoto Encounт. Bang the gong. Well deserved.
Easy gong as well. 70% now for Suntag, working towards that first EMP, which is going to do wonders at shutting down Pharmacy in particular, grounding both those aerial members. So Xavier Esports, they're definitely getting themselves quite ahead right now. Yoshimoto Encounт need to understand how far behind they are and sort of work towards getting themselves back in neutral standing.
They're going to have to really respect this EMP. It can completely change up how the spike goes, even if Yoshimoto get off to a good start. And it is a good start, actually, as they catch Tay, but there is the EMP trying to swing it back around. Indeed, it has done so, at least so far. Bep needs to try and get in for a res, but it's hard. AKTM back up to the skies, but he leaves the rest of his team for dead on the ground, unfortunately. And that is going to be, once again, the encirclement and just shy of a gong.
I'm on fire.
And this is exactly what I appreciate so much about Xavier's play. So they just lay the bait out there, dive into us, and then the entire dive gets cut in half, and the EMP comes down, and Suntag specifically targeted AKTM and Bep there. Both of those flying characters could not continue to dive with the rest of the team. That team got halved, well, nearly halved. It was a 4-2 separation, but so much of the damage output was not present during the dive just because of the EMP.
That being said, Yoshimoto Encounт this time have a lot of ultimates, and they do not have to contend with the EMP. If they can shut down THK, they're actually going after Suntag, which I don't think is the right call, unfortunately. Yeah, and they lose Muffin as well. Not quite the ideal targets. A lot of ultimates being committed very early. You see the Transcendence out from Tay, you see the Valkyrie out from Bep, and it's not really being converted into anything. Yoshimoto actually just kind of backing off here, looking for another angle in, but they lose AKTM. They're not going to get that other angle. Saint smartly holding onto the ultimate, but this will allow Xavier to stall him out, and Xavier committed next to no ultimates in that fight.
That's right, because you just sort of mentioned Yoshimoto Encounт came in with pretty much almost 6 ultimates, at least 5, but it wasn't quite enough. And the fact that Xavier can pull on through without using anything, I don't even think they used anything. I could be wrong there. A couple members low. Suntag now back onto the EMP. THK, importantly, didn't have to use that tactical visor. And you said you just got to shut down THK, but it is easier said than done.
Now AKTM onto the Soldier, just looking to contest that high ground, but they are again going to be fighting into an EMP. And also all those other tools that Xavier did not commit, the likes of the tactical visor could really shut down Yoshimoto Encounт here. Need to find their way in, need to get a much more decisive dive. Sound Barrier is going to try and
counter.
They need to get something in here. There it is, there's the counter. And they looks like they tried to actually bait it out, but is it really a bait if it ends up going off to huge success for Xavier? Indeed, 2 ultimates being committed for what is a very clean fight win.
That is crazy as well. THK once again saving the tactical visor, this time ready to combo it with Dreamer as well. Tay gonna have the defensive ultimate. Xavier just have all the tools now. They have offensive tools, they have defensive tools, and for Yoshimoto Encounт, a fresh hero still for AKTM, charging up to 70%, but nothing else really of note to use. Saint with only a self-destruct probably isn't enough.
And yeah, look, up to, charging up towards 80%, but THK has still got his tactical visor that he's had for the last 2 fights. They got the nano booster combo with it as well, and there they go. No holds barred, just willing to throw everything into the mix. They do lose Sontag, but AKTM dies close as he was to tactical visor and tie him in. Crucially, on the Mercy, the damage indeed. The members that survived that onslaught of the nano visor do not have the health bars to continue contesting the fight. That was about as tidy a defense as you can get.
That's exactly the word I would use as well. It was just so clean. It was so clean I could eat off it. It was just like, just tight on all sort of sides there. Nothing got leaked on through. Every time YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT wanted to dive, it was just rebuffed time and time again. Even when it looked good, even when it looked like, oh, well, there's no EMP this time around. Okay, EMP was an issue before, not the issue now. Let's dive again. Couldn't break through. You said just kill THK. He didn't die that entire defense. He was so effective, he didn't have to ult pretty much the entire defense.
I think almost no one died on the side of Xavier. Like, Sontag died in that last fight. I think there were a couple of casualties in the first one, maybe. But, like, you could count the number of deaths on one hand for Xavier Esports there. That is pretty phenomenal. That is rare.
It's not even the fact that, okay, they're playing Soldier Tracer. In this case, it's Soldier Sombra. Close enough. Sombra, you can sort of say, similar.
Long gun, medium gun.
Yeah. Pretty much. Medium gun because Sombra has it sort of tied up
you get the triple DPS and you get like the long, short, and medium.
All the sizes.
It's like the full, all the options.
And then the extra long gun with the Widowmakers are like this.
Well, extra, like at that point, it sounds like a Starbucks order. Like, I'll have an extra long gun with a side of Widowmaker.
A venti Widowmaker.
Yeah, a venti headshot.
But yeah, this is just one of the few, I guess, pick him if you like, highlights coming out of this team. Just anywhere you like it, they had that map locked down. They had the defense locked down. And this is what excites me about this team is when we saw Flash Wolves at their sort of peak. And look, we make a lot of comparisons between Detonator Korea and Ardiant, but when you look at a team like Xavier Esports, it's not just the fact that they play this composition, it's how they play it, how they execute it, and their understanding of it. That's what's exciting.
And by the way, Flash Wolves, who had a first place followed by a second place finish across the 2 seasons of OWC, so looking like Flash Wolves is not a bad way to start looking.
You don't just want to be imitators, you want to be there yourself.
Yeah, you've also got to consider, by the way, just about any of those fights from the previous one could have been highlights. Let's see if Xavier can kind of keep that up, maybe just clean sweep this out in a single fight, already set up on the point with this tank-heavy composition, and just trying to drill away with the twin shotguns of the Reaper.
Good nade.
Yeah.
Really good nade.
And now it's Saint getting pressured out. Olivier loses his own mech though, so it's not too clean just yet, and Queen getting pressured down is going to be taken out by AKTM. This is that kind of kill box set up, and even as YOSHIMOTO lose a couple of members, they've kept the pressure up. They may need to commit some people to the point though. Xavier are going to stay on it till the last. They want to make sure that YOSHIMOTO don't give it away by accident, but indeed committing to the point itself. Xavier are going to get stopped up short, at least for this first push.
Yeah, no accidents in that defense for YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT. Hyman is probably the player I got to point out. 2 great bio nades, and it looked really tricky for this team before the first bio nade came out. A lot of healing here. Reaper's got a lot of close range damage. If you're YOSHIMOTO, you don't necessarily want to dive into the camp just yet. Xavier could have probably just capped out right then and there if that perfect nade didn't come down.
Now YOSHIMOTO have the ultimates to cycle into. Muffin does not quite connect with the pulse bomb, but they've got these things available here. They're going to have that tactical visor. Sontag, though, the EMP is going to be the real crucial piece of this push.
Long rotation.
Not if you die,
Forcing the height, well, that's definitely an issue. And now if YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT, got the winning tools.
They commit to the point anyway, committing both the support ultimates as well. And that's the nano visor that YOSHIMOTO have to play with in this fight. So far, it's doing at least a bit of work. Olivier, while he's busy trying to block that, does leave the rest of his team exposed. YOSHIMOTO kind of happy to use those ultimates, given how many Xavier themselves committed. AKTM needs to not overextend here. Okay, he is out.
This time around, though, Xavier finally... I'd like to say finally, but we don't know just yet. But I'd like to expect finally the EMP does come out. We're sort of just waiting. And I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay if they kind of took their time to camp as long as they had a plan to how they were going to get there. Because that's kind of like, you can say that about Detonator Korea, it seems planned. This time around, though, it's a little bit more messy, but they certainly have the way to win. They just got to execute.
Here I am.
Death Blossom. The EMP, it's the really, I mean... How many times has it just been the deciding factor in fights, especially even just so far with Xavier? You know, not even considering how important it's been just throughout the course of the night so far.
It's especially brutal if Bep gets caught in that right now. He's going to get taken down straight away, no transcendence.
There's the dive. Sontag, you got it!
Down.
Straight onto him. Was setting up around one side. The dive comes in the front side, and Xavier just steamrolling in, finally find their in on the fight. It wasn't even a mistake from Yoshimoto. It was just Xavier finally getting the setup that they required. That was a dramatic end there. Reaper, like, stop, they're already dead.
But there it is. That's what it looks like. I think they took a while to get there, and again, just so clutch by Hyman in that very opening defense. It could have been very different. A lot of that ended up giving Yoshimoto a decent amount of momentum in terms of ult economy to carry them through the next couple of fights. The Nano Visor coming up after winning another fight. Again, you're farming these ultimates up against a lot of tanks, so this is the kind of risk you take if you are Xavier or any team that wants to play with a bunch of tanks, big tanks at that. If you do lose a fight, expect big ultimates on the other side, and that's exactly what happened. But when Xavier finally put their plan into action, it did feel like they were going to get that win. It was just a bit slow.
I am reminded of the first series we saw tonight, which actually went a very similar way to this. The control was quite close, and then the hybrid on Numbani, as it happened, ended up being a bit of a wash. So, I mean, if it's going to follow that same vein, then, you know, you've got to consider Yoshimoto could well end up winning this next one on Assault. But currently it is Xavier Esports pulling it to match point. And Yoshimoto are at that point where they can't afford to lose anymore. Even a draw is now a series loss. You never want to be the team that starts off with a series loss. And you also, I mean, there is that extra weight here specifically for this team of you also don't want to be the new Japanese representative that just looks at, you know, the same as all the previous Japanese teams that have struggled to pick up map wins.
That being said, you know, and I personally do think this, but Xavier come in as one of the stronger teams, and we'll see exactly how it unfolds because map 3 will be coming up pretty soon. Xavier Esports and Yoshimoto Encounт will continue right after this break.